Are you feeling frustrated because you are trying to do downward facing dog, but your heels don't touch the floor and you feel like you look around the yoga class and you're like, why are other people able to do this, but I'm struggling with it? So welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you that it is totally okay that your heels do not touch the ground in downward facing dog. In fact, I've been practicing yoga for 15 years and my heels don't touch during downward facing dog. So what I wanted to do today is just go through the pose itself and give you some tips and some strategies for getting the benefit out of downward facing dog. So when you come into downward facing dog, what I'm talking about here with your heels not touching the floor, you might be the person that you come up into the pose and see how my heels don't come into the floor. They don't press down to the floor. In order for me to get them down to the floor, I've really got to come back like this. And we're really just getting more into a forward fold versus a downward facing dog here. Okay. So the getting your heels down to the floor in downward dog is not even necessarily the point of the yoga pose. It might be if you're trying to get a hamstring stretch or a calf stretch. Downward facing dog certainly has full body benefits, but oftentimes when you're doing like a vinyasa style yoga class, downward facing dog is really more on the elongating your spine and giving you the benefits of a spinal decompression. All right. So when you come into downward facing dog, I start, from tabletop position. Shoulders are stacked over your wrists. Hips are stacked over your knees. Your palms, you're going to place your palms on your mat. Spread your fingers out. You're not going to have your fingers like this, right? Okay, you're just going to spread your fingers out. And then tuck your toes, lift your knees, press your hips up and back into downward dog. All right, so as I come into this pose, you'll notice here that my heels do not touch the ground. All right, I feel this in my calves and my hamstring. I can even bring a slight bend into my knee to get even more of a spinal decompression here. And so what I'm talking about here is I'm relaxing my neck, relaxing my head, and elongating my spine, feeling the space between each individual vertebra of my back is just sort of elongating. We're working against gravity here, okay? Notice here my heart is above my head. So this is technically an inversion. And with inversions, what we're looking for is that ability to elongate your spine. I can put a slight bend into my knees, which is going to allow me to get more of the benefit of that spinal decompression, okay? So when you come into the pose here, you press your hips up towards the sky. You can even come up onto your tippy toes here. You press your hips up towards the sky and then press back, all right? So that's what we're looking for here, is to get that opportunity to get your head just a little bit lower than your heart. Relax your head, relax your neck, offer up that spinal decompression. You don't want to have your shoulders all cranked or anything here. You just, place your shoulders back and away from your ears. And then you can press back. Your gaze is up towards your knees, in between your thighs, maybe even up towards your belly button. Okay. And when you're in this pose, you can pedal out your feet. You can kind of move around here, just forward and back. I like to nod my head yes, and then nod my head no. And make sure that I'm paying attention to any tension that might be in my face or in my jaw here. All right. So when you come into downward facing dog, do not be worried if your heels don't touch the ground. Not the point of the pose, not necessarily the point of the pose. If you're trying to do downward facing dog for more of a hamstring stretch or calf stretch, then yes, you might move your hands in more towards your feet to allow for that stretch. But if you're coming into downward facing dog as more of a full body sort of release of the spine, spinal decompression, that's what we want to focus on there, is more on that spinal decompression, relaxing the head, relaxing the neck. So some common things that I have found with downward facing dog and really kind of struggling with getting into that pose is sweaty hands and feet. So if you're like me, you're a sweater, maybe a little TMI here, but I sweat a lot in my hands and my feet. All right. Even if I'm not doing a hot yoga class, that's where I sweat. So what I have found, I've tried a lot of different yoga mats. What I have found is the Lifeform yoga mat is a great yoga mat for doing yoga and not slipping around. I have a video where I review that specific yoga mat. So you can check that out. I've got a link in the description for you. I've also got, this is a Manduka yoga mat that I've got here with a towel over the top of it. And the towel does provide a little bit of additional like stick so my hands don't slip around, they don't slide around. So you can try that. You could try a yoga towel, or you can just take a regular like bath towel and just place it on your mat, put it underneath your hands, underneath your palms, and see if that helps with any of the slippage. Another thing that you can do for downward facing dog is to use yoga blocks underneath the palms of your hands. Now this you can try it even if you have sweaty hands or not. This is just a different way of doing the pose itself, and your body will create a different shape and it's going to feel a little bit differently. Okay. So I did this a lot when I was recovering from my knee injury, because I would come into downward facing dog and I would try to get into this pose and I would be like this. Okay. The top or the front side of my body was just so tight from, I had to use a walker. I was on crutches. I had to use a cane. I sat a lot. I was on the couch. It was like the whole front side of my body was super tight. And so you would think getting in a downward facing dog, is going to be a little bit easier if your front half of your body is tight, but I found that that is not necessarily the case. Okay. So one way that you can do this is you can place blocks underneath the palms of your hands here and, come into your downward facing dog, tuck your toes, press your hips up and back. Now look at this. Notice how my heels don't come quite down towards the mat, but they get a little bit closer. Again, not the point of the pose, but the point here is that it allows my body to create a little bit of a different shape. So I might feel it a little bit differently in my body. I might feel it in different parts of my body. I might feel more of a stretch in a different part of the body. And so this is just one additional option that you can do to try out downward facing dog and to give you a little bit more of the spinal decompression. Or maybe if you are looking more for the calf and the hamstring stretch, gives you the opportunity here to come a little bit deeper into that stretch. All right. So again, it's just going to depend on what is the point, what is the purpose for your downward facing dog. So if you've been frustrated that you've been trying to do downward facing dog and your heels don't touch the floor, let me be the one to tell you it is totally okay. It is not even necessarily the point of the pose, depending on what you're doing in your practice. It's totally okay. And so what I want you to do is just explore the pose, come into the pose, try it with the blocks, try it with different yoga mats, try it in different ways, explore the different shapes that your body makes and how it feels in your body. So if you're interested in trying out yoga blocks, I've also got another YouTube video on the differences between cork yoga blocks and foam yoga blocks. I'll link to that in the description for you. So you can check out my video on the Lifeform yoga mat. It's a great option for people that have the sweaty hands and feet. And also check out the video on cork versus foam yoga blocks if you're in the market for purchasing some yoga blocks or another set of yoga blocks. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and maybe share this video with somebody who you think might find it helpful.